photo on. It's unfortunate I cannot be there in person, but I'm hoping that the content of this presentation will resonate with the room. But as an intro, my name is Sipesi Hlehlela. I know it can be a mouthful, but for short it's SIPS, and I'm the Director of Diversity, Equity and Inclusion at Meltwater. It's a fairly new role, but to be honest, I've also been very responsible for setting up our offices in Kenya, Nairobi, and would have loved to have been there to deliver this on a personal capacity. But if there's anything that I say today that you'd like to learn more about, or feel free to drop me a LinkedIn request. If you haven't heard of Meltwater, maybe before I start, we're actually a SaaS company that is a global leader in media intelligence and social analytics. But I won't bore you with all the small detail. I'll just jump right into the crux of the presentation. So as a business, we actually work with over 30,000 clients around the world that manage their marketing and PR workflow through our one centralized solution. So just to break it down into simple terms, Meltwater really does media monitoring and social listenings, but also consumer research, identification of journalists and social influencers, publishing and distributing information across different channels, engaging on social media, and ultimately measuring performance and reporting on it. So I guess in terms of today's presentation, we're going to be looking at driving growth with social media specifically. All right, so maybe the first thing that I'd like to highlight around this topic is a few elements. So one, driving growth with social media, I mean, the holy grail is to optimize your digital customer experience. Number two, the growth in terms of influencer marketing. And we'll also look at global brand management and how that looks like, the importance of a consumer research, but most importantly, the race to number one when it comes to competitive intelligence. So I guess the question that we should be asking ourselves is, why should we care about social media? It is surprising, but when speaking to some of our clients, and also some of my clients as well in Kenya specifically, we still hear that many companies are not fully aware of the role that social media channels and social data can play in companies' growth strategy. Now, because most of the world, maybe if I start there, is on social media, and just to give you an idea or context, currently we have a global population of 7.7 billion people. 4.5 billion people I guess social media is typically used for social interaction, access to news and information, and decision making. It is valuable in terms of tool with others to locally and worldwide, as well as to share, create, and spread information. Now, as marketers, and I guess this is why we're all here at Social Media Week, social media allows us to reach, nurture, and engage with our target audience, no matter their location. We're looking at Kenya specifically. Location becomes quite important if you look at the different counties that form part of Kenya. But successful businesses use social media to connect with their audience and to generate brand awareness, leads, sales, and revenue. Now, if we look at the first point of driving growth through social media, the holy grail, right? So as we have all these important business goals linked to social media, it's imperative to optimize our customer experience. So where do we start? So let's have a look at the increasingly more digitized customer journey. So following data from Google, 46% of buyers research on their smartphone before they buy products in a store, and 37% research online before buying online through computer. Now, if we look at those stats, overall, 41% of buyers research and buy products on their smartphone. Now, if I look at an example of smartphone and app development in Kenya, it's actually quite, I guess, not surprising that we're in the position to drive super apps, especially being a mobile-first continent and market. So a lot of that is also something we could see through the likes of Cellulant, who are really pioneers with implementing such super apps in the financial services space. Now, as buyers find and research products online, it is adamant to understand the digital customer journey for your buyer's persona and understand the touch points along the journey for your company. So you can positively influence the amount of people becoming aware of your products and solutions and measure how many of these products move forward down the funnel in becoming a customer and, in the end, brand advocates. So if we focused on customers that can be backed up by research that has been conducted by McKinsey in 2020, research by McKinsey shows that top companies that sustain a comprehensive focus on customer can generate economic gains ranging from 20 to 50% of the cost base. So once reading this, there are really two questions that are drivers of digital transformation. How can we retain existing customers? And then also number two, how can we attract new customer groups in the future? Now, companies must understand what their customers want. So in order to drive a customer-centric marketing and business strategies, visualizing the customer journey and consumer research is key in the success factors in this process. And if I'm not mistaken, I do believe that Devine from Cellulant will also be touching on visualizations through storytelling. So I think that'll feed quite well in this element. So here you can see in front of you on your screen, just an imaginary example of how a visualized customer journey could look like. So we can see that data collected from social, which is visualized in different phases of the customer journey, ranging from awareness all the way to loyalty, using a visualization tool like Tableau and combining it with a media intelligence API, similar to what Meltwater does, I guess, you can get these real-time insights into your customer journey with one single source of truth. So this way you can easily optimize your customer experience and select touch points and benchmark yourself against competitors. Other examples can include, virtual schooling that we've seen develop over the last 18 months, brand partnerships that have been formed by big organizations across East Africa, at-home workouts, cashless transactions, virtual travel. So there are many examples that speak to visualization of a customer journey. Now, one of the most crucial parts of retaining customers is having a successful customer service. Over the last decade, customer service has relied on channels such as email, phone, face-to-face contact, but the industry is rapidly changing. Now, I guess with people relying more on digital support, traditional customer service, as you know, it's likely to be dead in 5 years. There is nothing more damaging to a brand than a poor customer service. So let's imagine your customer service department in 5 years from now. You've got the perfect service team waiting to jump in to deal with any complex issues, while the bot takes care of everything else. But your customers are not just on your website. They're engaging via WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook, and probably new platforms that don't exist right now. So how can you manage this more efficiently? And I guess if we look at real-time nature of social media, this digital channel has proved one of the most convenient ways for consumers to reach out. So in order to offer strong social media customer service, many companies, which makes it easier to manage the process of answering customer inquiries or enable you to find and monitor mentions, use engagement tools. And even when customers haven't directly mentioned you. If there is a specific complaint, like many other engagement tools, Meltwater will actually allow users or clients to assign particular cases to relevant members internally, ensuring that it does not get lost among the dozens of other communications. This also allows for more personal and an efficient experience in your customer service. When another key sort of area to grow customer retention, to answer the second part of the question, and growth is ensuring that brands are continually engaging and nurturing online communities. So online communities are some of the best places to build brand loyalty. This is important to note since only 1 in 3 consumers believe that they can trust brands that they buy from. When your brand offers valuable products, customers will want to buy from you continuously, hopefully, and tell those within their circle to do the same. So by nurturing these brand advocates and relationships, as they will continue to increase your overall brand awareness and trust in your products and brand. So in other words, to keep it simple, brands will need to pivot, innovate, and transform in post-COVID-19 world that has left many communities or consumers traumatized, whether it's emotionally or financially, or change in consumer trust. And I think it's important to take note of that as well. So as mentioned before, we are living in a digital world, and the power lies in the hand of the customer or consumer. Now, how do we move on to influencer marketing? And maybe this is a topic that many people can relate to. According to Statista, the global influencer marketing size will grow from 1.7 billion USD in 2016 to 14 billion by the end of 2021. But how does influencer marketing look like at this point in time? So I guess the importance of influencer marketing can be seen in the following stats. This is on a global perspective. 90% of consumers trust peer recommendations. User-generated content is 50% more trusted by internet users than traditional media. Consumers are 71% more likely to make a purchase based on social media referrals. 38% of shoppers rely on influencer reviews. Now, when considering those numbers, I had to ask myself, like, how does this look like for Kenya? So when looking at Kenya specifically, a recent survey was actually conducted by consultancy Fever in Kenya, and they found that 41% of social media influencers in Kenya prefer Instagram. When influencers tag their expertise, 23% tag beauty, followed by cooking and fashion, respectively. 80% of influencers receive late payments, but also 80% of consumers in both Kenya and Nigeria, when looking at the two powerhouses in Africa, have brought a product or service recommended by an influencer. So really a lot of potential when looking at influencer marketing. So in essence, influencer marketing is unique marketing channel that builds meaningful connections between you and your audience through authentic brand promotion. Now, the most important part of this is authenticity and strong alignment with your influencers is really the bread and butter of influencer marketing. So before working together with an influencer and starting off your influencer campaigns, it is important to vet your potential influencer partner. And personally for myself, working with a number of clients in Kenya, we've helped brands vet their influencers. So here are some of the things that we look at when looking at influencers. True reach of every Instagram account by removing fake bots and spam accounts from the equation, thus reflecting a more accurate depiction of a user's influence. I actually have a few examples, more local examples I wanted to share. So we all know Tanasha Donna. She's a Kenyan model, singer, entrepreneur, and beauty influencer. And if we look at her social presence, I mean, it's safe to say that she's an influencer in her own capacity, but really pinpointing what defines her as an influencer and someone that resonates with her brand will be based on how we collect this data. Similarly, we can also look at another influencer. At this point in time, I can imagine maybe the most highly paid social influencer in Kenya, Asia Nasenya. And we can see her influence score is 98 out of 100 and relatively high. But what is interesting here is that she is a Kenyan actress, content creator, media host, social media personality, but is probably well known for her activities on TikTok, which is quickly becoming a new sort of social influencer platform. In Kenya, companies have in recent years turned to celebrities to market their products on social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. When comparing the cost effectiveness from influencer marketing with paid media, research done by a company called soulmate.ia found that influencer marketing is 10.5 times more cost effective than paid media. So this means the ROI of influencer marketing has greatly surpassed traditional marketing channels. So if I'm being really honest, good influencer marketing involves resources, taking the guesswork out of finding the right influencers that resonates with your audience is ever so vital. The challenge is that pinpointing the most influential voices for your brand can extremely be manual and time consuming. When it comes to selecting a social media influencer, there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. Often depends on a campaign's objectives and brand personality. That being said, this diagram in front of you suggests the type of influencers best suited to certain goals. Once you've decided on the most applicable type of influencer based on your campaign objectives, you then need to search for those that don't just reach your target audience, but also embody your brand values and personality. So I guess this takes me to my next section on how to generate sales with influencer marketing. So I guess once you've been able to vet, identify, align an influencer, and you're about to launch a campaign, it's important to incentivize customers to make a purchase. Now, determining the CTAs, so call to action for a campaign, is a holistic decision, as it should fit the tone of the campaign and connect with your audience. So some popular incentives include coupon codes, discounts, giveaway, donations, etc. But brand inspiration, I mean, this is really influencer marketing made successful. It's due to authenticity. So including a sales incentive into a campaign should have the same authenticity. So there are some fun examples, I guess, that I could give. But before I jump into that, here's an example of a company called Bumble. I'm not too sure if many of you know it, but it's a popular social media platform that operated the dating app Bumble. The brand has been working with ambassadors to spread the company mission across college campuses and cities worldwide. People can apply and will be handpicked by Bumble to serve as their honey or queen bee ambassadors. And in order to have run an effective ambassador program, one has to keep a few things in mind. Now, running a successful brand ambassador program requires the following important steps and ensuring alignment amongst your ambassador and your team. So one, determine the incentive. What will motivate clients to become ambassadors? Perhaps you offer discounts, free products, or monetary compensation. And in most cases, free products and monetary compensation has always been the go-to as well in Kenya. Number two, invite and collect details. Create an integrated page where you can collect clients' social details, so you can easily identify those with social influence. So actually showing an example now of Aziad Nasenia on the screen. And this is how we would then start unpacking and identifying these social influences. And I guess once you identify influential customers, by using data-driven influencer insights, vet your applicants and select those best ambassadors and extending transparent communication. And then most importantly, monitor the results. And I think this is where the ability to analyze the impact of all campaign content and the ability to identify areas of success and how you can improve in the future is key. So if you're ready to explore your influencer ambassador program, I am more than happy to spar ideas. So feel free to reach out and schedule some time to discuss any local or Africa specific use cases. I wanted to touch on global brand management. Although we are focusing on social media week, excuse me, I'm just actually just getting a chat from the event organizers. Perfect. I will recap on everything at the end of the session. I know people are walking in as the presentation is proceeding, so I'll just touch on some of the elements I've mentioned. But I wanted to quickly just move on to an agenda around global brand management and why this is important. Although there's a focus on a more regional or local strategy, and we're speaking Kenya, East Africa. In my time working with clients in Kenya, I've been absolutely amazed at how many HQs of companies and organizations are based outside of Nairobi. And an example of this would be an organization called AMREF Health Africa that I work closely with. And we all know, and I'm not too sure if everyone does, but Elizabeth Dojira, she's responsible for comms and marketing on a global perspective. And I guess 3 years ago, when I started speaking with AMREF, I realized that I did not expect that someone sitting in Nairobi is responsible for a global org headquartered outside of Kenya. And I think this really speaks to the need for us as Africa to position ourselves as global pioneers in all that we do. So global brand management is quite key. Now, managing the complexities of a brand, particularly on a global scale, isn't an easy task. So I wanted to touch on a study from Edelman found that 64% of consumers would boycott a brand solely because of its position on a social or political issue. And we've seen that play out over the last 18 months. One of the biggest challenges brand managers have is spotting a potential crisis before it erupts. Now, it can be a crisis, it can be an opportunity, but another example, and maybe one that's close to home, is about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I started working with Doshi Group, and they launched an advert on TV that then became viral, trended on social media without their knowledge. But they saw this as an opportunity to actually turn down the new oil and actually benefit in the number of user-generated hashtags that were being thrown around. They were able to identify organic influences. They're able to build partnerships and leverage the complexities of their brand and also the user-generated content that was generated from a TV ad that went viral on social media. So spotting a potential crisis before it happens, there is so much so much noise in the internet these days, and conversation can easily be missed if strategies lack clear global brand monitoring processes. Now, companies that are operating in different regions, and this is very common. I mean, if you look at how companies like Cellulant are structured, you have East, West Africa, and other markets. So when companies work in different regions, often face challenge that markets are not connected through one global system. So they have fragmented monitoring and measurement systems that makes reporting and analytics a painful process. often they are not able to prove the value of their work, whether it's on a regional, impacting a global perspective or strategy. So social media intelligence can be used across multiple departments. So maybe to give an example of Meltwater's media intelligence analytics platform, it can be used across multiple business functions. It can be used to reduce silos and costs, fostering collaboration, and ultimately increasing ROI through creating more efficiency and aligned processes. But enough about what Meltwater does. I think research is always the best way to look at this data-driven decision making. When looking at, I guess, a research conducted by McKinsey in 2020, it showed that high-performing organizations are 3 times more likely than others to say their data and analytics initiatives have contributed at least 20% of their EBIT. So I guess here, ultimately integrating different data types, whether it's external data and internal data, into one system is the base of improving data-driven decisions. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was East African Brews Limited yesterday in the intro panel discussion. Data-driven decisions, it shouldn't be a surprise. This is how companies are making decisions. And again, visualizing the customer journey and its key touch points, benchmarking the data against competitors and combining it with internal like sales data is essential for companies to understand where they need to improve. So some of the pain points when working with some of my clients across Kenya, it all goes down to reporting. How can we spend less time reporting, increase efficiency, and focus on what the job or the task at hand? So employees in marketing and communication departments spend hundreds of hours every month putting together manual social media and campaign reports, or work in Excel spreadsheets to gain insights. In order to manage a global brand and understand the development of your company's share of voice or reputation across different markets, it can make a difference to have an automated system, a reporting system, and implement a data-driven working culture. So I guess that brings me to my 4th point, where we have seen how difficult it can be to manage a brand on a global scale. Therefore, it's even more important to better understand the behaviors, motivators, and demographics of your audience. I wanted to maybe share a quick research that was conducted by HubSpot. And this survey, are still the number one tactic marketers use to conduct market research, with social media not even listed among the top 4. It is clear and it's obvious. Surveys, focus groups and interviews are traditional ways of conducting consumer research. They are expensive, often represent a small sample size, and information is quickly outdated. As consumer behavior changes faster than ever, it is important to collect accurate data. Excuse me. So I would like to just share this quote. You may not know Ricky, but in a 2018 podcast, comedian Ricky Gervais commented on how he used social media for consumer research about his forthcoming shows. And he remarked, "That's not a sample, that's just the world." Why I'm sharing this, it just shows that social media data allows you to understand the needs, interests, and behavior of your consumers in real time. So I guess in essence, consumer research through social media data is able to provide you with deeper insights and help you to be better, better at understanding your customers. And to give you an example, just as indicated on the slide, social listening tells you that from October to February, people are talking about culinary nuts. So these are type of sweets on social media. But consumer insights will tell you that people enjoy these treats during cold winter months, and that they're also interested in finding new flavors. So this is how we would break it down in simple terms, and I hope that the example is clear. So in a nutshell, no brand sells to just one homogeneous group of consumers. They usually need to communicate to multiple audiences with different needs and drivers. Businesses used to differentiate these audiences by using simple demographics, but the modern online world is a little bit more complex. Consumer insights platforms enable marketers to identify new groups or tribes, which are communities of like-minded individuals within a broader audience. With that, we are also able to provide more consumer insights like media consumption, influencers that they follow, brands that they purchase, online conversations that they participate in, content that they share, social channels they use, online buying habits, and more. So consumer research through social data, I guess, gives us instant access to a current snapshot of your brand's equity. In our fast changing digital world, brands must understand their markets better and see how they are positioned within it. Brands must also measure the gap between a projected brand image versus the real online perception, see what values and sentiments are attached to a brand, a category or a competitor, and emerging brands as well. We're looking at trends forecasting through social media data. Consumer research based on social data does help brands stay ahead of your competitors, identify rising trends that are potentially potentially been happening for a long term. But this also enables you to predict future consumer trends. A high degree of confidence when you are actually conducting campaigns, so you are staying ahead of the curve. And I guess maybe from a Meltwater perspective, where we've closely worked with data scientists and engineers to detect emerging signals, such as consumption moments, social aspirations, new brands and new product usages, key cultural moments, it is imperative to obviously have these triggers or trigger alerts to understand topic momentums that are being generated, and also what consumer like insights can be attested to these trends. The race to number one, or competitive intelligence. Why, I guess in this case, is competitive intelligence so important? I guess competitive intelligence helps businesses understand their competitive environment and opportunities and challenges it presents to inform growth strategies. Again, leaning on research by McKinsey, it is clear that there's an opportunity to contribute to the bottom line. So I guess at Meltwater, we help customers monitor Porter's 5 forces. And if you understand Porter's 5 forces, you understand that it really helps give a competitive landscape or overview of competitive landscape. Porter's 5 forces is well known as a model for figuring out how competitive the company is based on external and internal factors. So these factors affect current state and potential of power, which has a direct relationship with performance. So Porter differentiates between 5 areas: suppliers, buyers, and competitive rivalry give a good indication of your current position, while threats of substitution and new entry help you determine how sustainable your current methods are. So the power of suppliers, external data is critical to stay on top of in terms of your supply chain. The majority of causes of supply chain distribution are external. So these are things like political developments, cyber attacks, supply instability, and I think we're all very familiar of that, and we've seen it in real time. Because of this, a monitoring strategy is essential, as it allows you to monitor all external data available online, from the acquisition of one of your suppliers to consumer complaints on social media. The power of buyers, I guess it's self-explanatory, and in order to manage the changing nature of buyer behaviors and perceptions, you need to ultimately understand your audience, the level of demand they present, and their behavior online. So this could be things like defining your target audience to create your buyer personas, understanding consumer behavior and how it's changed or influenced, but also understanding what content and which channels are relevant to reach buyers. And I guess we all know it through social listening. We're able to help customers understand their buyer better and optimize customer experience, as mentioned previously. Power of competitive rivalry and threat of substitution. I guess here you don't allow competitors to outperform you to the point where your brand becomes obsolete. Remain relevant with deep insights into your markets, their needs, their desires, and the topics that are relevant to them, but also keep a close eye on competitor performance and strategies through consistent data analysis. And with that, time has flown by, but I've come to the end of the presentation. And I guess in the last note, again, if you want to learn more about the topic of driving growth with social media, please make sure to check out our brand new social media ROI playbook. I'm happy to disseminate this as well to the event organizer. For listening. I know we're all getting used to the hybrid setup of running events, but I appreciate the time for listening, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of the event. And again, if you're interested, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn, and I'm happy for any questions around the topic, or in this case, you want to receive some of the content that I've shared. But that comes to the end of my presentation, and yeah, I'm happy to proceed accordingly. So maybe at this stage, I'm not too sure if there are any questions, but I haven't heard anything come through the chat. But if there aren't any questions, yeah, again, please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. Hello, we good? Hi, Rita.
Hi, everyone. Are there any questions? You're very quiet. Or you didn't understand the class? Sipo, I'm here. I'm asking them whether they didn't understand the class. Any questions? I can see someone there. RMS, I can see someone asking questions.
Thank you, Rita.
Any questions? Question? If I look at you, I think you have a question. Any feedback? Anyone wants the presentation? Good. Now you can ask the question. Any question? The presentation. Yeah, but any questions? Sipo, I think they've understood everything you've said, but they want the presentation.
Perfect.
Yeah.
They want the presentation.
Yes.
All right. No, that's not a problem. I can share that to anyone who reaches out to me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to share that as well. But I guess we're all getting used to being around people again. I'm sure questions will come flying post this presentation. But I hope everyone has a good event further, and I'm sure to participate as well moving forward. Thank you so much. Should I sign out?
Thank you, Sipo.
Well, thank you.